Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm thrilled you could join me today for this exciting webinar. My name is Sarah Backhouse, and I head up product here at Jadu. I'm really looking forward to walking you through our brand new Form Action Failure Notifications feature. This webinar is the first in our Solution Showcase webinar series, where we'll be highlighting awesome new features being added to the Jadu platform. Just to get started, today I'm going to give you a look at some of the really exciting improvements we've released to enhance notifications when critical form actions fail. First off, let me start with just a quick refresher on our forms and rules engine. So our forms allow you to set up conditional rules that trigger actions like creating a case, sending emails, integrating with payment gateways, and more. The problem that many of you brought up is that currently for the new form builder, if one of those key actions fails, like Jadu Connect case creation, you have no easy way of getting notified and taking corrective action. I'm thrilled to say that in our Jadu Central release 1.2, we've delivered several enhancements to make sure that you are proactively alerted when actions fail or forms are submitted with errors. So I just move on. I'm there with the slides. There's four main improvements that I want to cover with you today. First, we've got our configurable notifications per action, being able to trigger email notifications to particular admins when a form action fails. Second, we have our new submitted with error status. So submissions that have failed actions on them can be easily identified in our control center interfaces. Third, we have a failed actions report so that you can, again, audit and process these as required. And finally, we have added a little bit more debug information in when a particular action fails to aid in triaging and diagnosing any issues that you may encounter. So our first item, configurable notifications per action. You'll be able to configure immediate email notifications for both pre-submit and post-submit rules. For any action like create case, you can specify which users should be notified instantly if a specific action fails. It gives you granular control over your workflow. And for example, you may want a Jadu Connect admin to be notified if a particular case creation fails, but a different team to be notified if there are issues with a particular back office system. So if we jump into the control center, I can quickly show you how we set these notifications up. So navigating first to our form, if I head in and navigate over into this form, I need to head to rules and then open the rule associated with this form. In here, the rule editor, you can see a new icon, which is present next to each of the then statements. I click this icon and it will open up the notify on failure modal. And in here, I can add new recipients. So if I click on the add another, we have our select box in order to locate the administrator that we want to apply. And then we've got options for instant notifications or a daily digest. The instant notification is sent right away when the action errors during submission. Only one email, though, will be sent per recipient per form submission. So if you have multiple actions, multiple then statements on a particular rule, for example, creating a case and then uploading a file to that case, if the case creation fails, it's always going to cause the following action to fail, but you will only receive a single email regarding that failure, listing both of those items in that email. If we head over to the Daily Digest, the Daily Digest summarizes all failures from the prior day. So it's sent overnight and it details all the previous submissions, previous day submissions for that action that has been set on that have failed. And if no failures have occurred during the previous day submissions, then no notification email will be sent. In the notification email, we see details such as the form name, submission reference, submitted date and time, which rule failed, and the failure reason. And it gives you that extra context so that you can quickly troubleshoot any issues that you might have encountered. If I head over, I'm just going to quickly log out, add this admin. I can show you what this next section looks like. So this is an example of the notifications that you receive when something fails. So I can see the name of the form and the reference number, the date and time of the submission. It'll give you an idea, if it has one, of what has failed, if that message has been set. And then there is a link so that we can go in and view this detailed log. So clicking on this, I'm just going to quickly sign in. And this is the associated form submission. There's also a few other links down here at the bottom, which are related to managing these notifications. So this is per admin. I can unsubscribe from notifications, I can mute notifications, and I can change my notification settings. When I unsubscribe, I'm no longer going to receive notifications for a particular action failure. When the notifications are muted, however, you will essentially have a pause and then they will be re-enabled. So this is particularly useful when you have an issue that's occurred on a particular integration. You have identified that this has happened. It may be on a particularly popular form, and therefore, in order to avoid flooding your inbox with notifications, you can just mute it until the issue is resolved. So in this case, it says mute notifications for an hour. When you click on this change your notification settings, you go to a page within the control center whereby you as an admin can manage all the notifications that you're receiving from Jadu Central. So I can go in and edit the sort of notifications that I'm receiving or remove particular notifications if I no longer want to receive these. If I quickly log back out and head back into this form as admin, you can see that if a particular admin has muted their notifications, here into rules, open up my rule again, and you can see if I click on this failure notifications, oh, darn. I'm going to have to go back and do that again. Sorry, guys. I meant to click the mute link. So I can mute this. Okay, so I get a successfully muted message. And now if I head back into that form, and view the rule, you can see that I've muted this until a particular time. So if somebody has stopped receiving notifications and you need to identify why, it's apparent in the control center what's happened. Moving back to the slides. So we have made some changes to the CRM Digest email as well within this work. They're very minor changes. So if you are using those integration, the CRM Digest will now include the form name and a direct link to each of the failed submissions. So it just includes a little bit more information to make this a little bit easier to use. Oops. Within the failed action notification work, we have added a new status, which is our submitted error status. So this clearly identifies forms in which the submission has incomplete actions. In your form submissions, you can see a visual submitted with error status if any actions have failed during processing, and you can quickly filter on that particular status within your receive forms. And just so that you can process these, it's important to mark errors as resolved once you address them, so you can head into the action menu and clear that error status. So hopefully, you just log out of this over here and head back in under admin. Might have upset a little bit because I'm already logged in for example. Sign out there. Sign back in. So we should be able to see the new status in action. So if I head into the received form list, we can start by adding a status filter. And within here, we can select submitted with errors. So this is going to show me all of the submissions which have a submitted with error status at present. If I click one of these, you can see that that submitted with error status is also visible in the form ribbon. We head into the log. You can see in here the error that's occurred, a few further details. And assuming that I've gone through and taken some action to complete this, I can then update the status to submitted. So I get a little warning message because this isn't an action that you can go back and change. And then I can clear that, at which point the status changes into submitted. So from there, if I head back into my slides, the next item is the failed actions report, which goes along with this work. So in order to kind of like track an audit going forward, you'll be able to run a failed actions report showing all failed actions over a time period. We can filter a report by form or by specific actions as required to analyse trends. And you can click any failed submissions to view details in the logs. It'll help you, this audit trail will help you identify any persistent issues that may require further changes. Oh, heck. Issues with slides, we'll just head back into the control center so I can show you that. So if we head back into the control center, our reports all sit within the utilities menu. And then they're sitting under report, under forms. Here we have our failed actions report. And as mentioned, we can select a particular form that we want to report on. And we can select an action, a particular action that we want to report on, and we can select the time period. So if I quickly run a report, it's going to pull up again very similar to what we saw in some respects on the received form, a list of all of the failed actions. However, this will show the items which have now been changed from status, submitted with errors to submitted. So we've got a reference number. Our form, user form reference number is shown in this table. We have the system that's related to the action that's failed, the response message it's received, and then details of the error if it has one, and then a link to the receive form. So using this receive form link, I can navigate into the submission details. And in common with all of the forms within Jadu Central, you can export that as a CSV so that you can conduct any further analysis in an external system as required. We do have a second report linked to this feature, which is this action notifications report. So this provides you with a quick digest of which of the forms on your system have got a notification link to them. And then on this form, if we click into this, you can navigate quickly into that particular rule in order to manage any notifications which have been set up. So, as mentioned, we have got a little bit more debug information which has been made available to help in, which has been added so that we can more easily diagnose issues and conduct any triaging of issues that occur. So the action log has previously recorded the request and the response of an action, but it hasn't stated which template was run. And it hasn't stated the rule that triggered the action. So we've added that additional information in now. If I go back into the control center, head back into the failed actions report, I'll be able to run this report and then view this information. The specific change that we've got in here, if I click view details, are these additional items here. So if it knows which rule it's been triggered by, it will show it, and if not, we get the NA, and we also get a detail of the template so that we can go in and administrate that if we need to. There is one little bit of functionality. I haven't got to do this unfortunately on my demo system, but we have made some changes around this for import and export as well. So when you are importing and exporting a form with notifications associated with its actions, during the import process, you're going to be prompted now to remap the notifications if the associated admin cannot be found. So if we find an account with the same username and email address, you won't see anything. It will be silently set up so that we can and imported as configured. However, if an exact match cannot be found, you'll be prompted to go in and select an admin on the system to remap that notification to. There was one other bit that I did forget to do, which is within forms, when you now go in and change the owner of a form, let's just remove this and use this bottom workpack one. Go into actions and change owner. We now have an additional little window here. So we can select a different owner for the form, but also we can amend any notifications that have been set up to go to the form owner. I can either opt to keep these existing notifications going to the previous owner of the form, or I can remap them and they will then all be reassigned to the new form owner. So, oh gosh, apologies for that, a little bit quick. In summary, those are the key improvements that we've made. We're hoping that those will really transform your ability to stay on top of any failed actions and submissions that occur. We're hoping that by getting these real-time notifications and having these tools to easily identify failures, that you'll be able to respond more quickly when critical workflows break. I'm happy to answer any questions that we have about these upcoming notification error handling capabilities. We always value feedback on this and any other functionality, and on any other problem areas that you think that we should be focusing on. Thank you so much for your time, guys.